The die of fate had been cast. Reporting to a public agency, which we'd kept being warned, could instead result in being in something far worse for Satoko if we didn't have the evidence first. And just like that, had I failed? Had I let my emotions get the better of me in that moment? Maybe I should have stayed silent and left everything to Mion since she had been relatively calm. I remembered the punishment game where we had to badmouth Curry and how me saying anything would have made it worse, and Satoko told us to leave the talking to her. Maybe it was just the same thing here. I was impulsive, so maybe I should have just shut up and looked at the floor, but it was too late to lament it. The die I had thrown wouldn't be coming back into my hands. All we could do was pray for something good to happen.
Keiichi-kun, you did everything you could, so leave it to the teachers now, okay?
Everything I could? If I really gave it everything I had, I had really struggled. I would have dragged Satoko out of her home last night and hidden her in some abandoned house. I didn't, so that means I didn't do everything I could.
Stop thinking about it, alright? You're being a little too persistent, Keiichi-kun. At this rate, you'll collapse.
Just leave me alone. I left her with those words and stared lazily up at the ceiling. I wondered if I'd really got Chie-sensei to understand. Would the public agency intervene and solve everything within the day? Would they acknowledge the abuse and guarantee her safety? After lunch break, our afternoon classes were mostly self-study. The teacher came back to the classroom occasionally, but then the phone in the lounge would ring and she'd have a long conversation with the caller. Everyone in class got the feeling they knew what those phone calls were about. Sensei came trotting back from the classroom.
I'm really sorry for all the calls recently. Let's call it a day. President, please lead the class.
Everybody stand up! It looked to me like Sensei had been wearing a dark expression ever since after lunch break. It wasn't a very relieving expression. It wouldn't be. Even if Sensei 100% understood the situation and passionately explained it to the other person. At the end, the Child Consultation Center was a public agency. Would be the one... As a public agency, would be the ones to decide whether to get her to safety. Sensei understood that as well as us, and that's why she looked so unreliable right now. Kei-chan, let's go home. I don't think anyone feels like having the club today.
Me-chan, it's no fun if someone's not here.
Rena was right. It was no fun for us if someone was missing. If the teacher's expression had shown more promise, then maybe we could have gone home more comfortably. But I couldn't let myself feel relieved. I couldn't be so naive and tell myself all I can do is pray, now that the dice have been cast. Just in case they didn't get her to safety and decided to wait and see again, I needed to take further measures. We've asked the people who could do something official already. Then, there was one more place that was worth asking for help. She might laugh it off. Or, I might be right, and I could be endangering my own life. But I'd try. Oh, Mion! Is it okay if I stop by your place today? You've got a lot of manga, right? I want to borrow a bunch of them. Huh? Sure, I guess. There was an ominous meaning behind my words, so Mion realized what I really meant right away. I wanted to talk about something alone. That's what I meant.
Me-chan! Keiichi-kun! Let's go home!
Rena already had her shoes on and was waving to us from the schoolyard. Mion's house was gigantic in every way imaginable. The house itself was vaguely old-fashioned, traditional Japanese house, but the yard, I guess, or their plot of land, was enormous. It easily convinced me that they really were major landowners with Hamanazawa under their thumb. Mion brought me through the guest room, and a servant brought us some tea. Wow, you really are rich, huh? You've even got housekeepers. Grandma and I are the only ones who live here. I wouldn't be able to do everything myself. The servant left, telling us it was 5 o'clock, then withdrew with soft footsteps. We have people come in to take care of Grandma and clean 2 or 3 times a week. They come in rotations of 3 or 4, so there's someone here almost every day. Only until evening, though. Oh, and if we're having a party or something where we need more help, we call up different people. If you had the money to hire all these people, then just take Sadako in. I glared at her as I thought that, and Mion seemed to catch on immediately. Oh, sorry. It's fine. I know it's not a money problem. Just to be clear, my family may be rich, but it's not the money I can use freely for myself. It's not money that I can use freely for myself, okay? I don't want you to misunderstand that. It kind of looked like I was bullying her. Mion had been apologizing to me a lot lately. Was Mion the sort of person who would do that this much? Maybe it's just that I've been looking so grim lately. So, what's up? You had something to talk about, right? I have something pretty serious to discuss, Mion. This will be sudden, and you might be surprised, but I want you to hear me out. Huh? What? Oh, I'll give you a way out first. Even if what I say is true, you don't need to admit it. You're allowed to play dumb, but I want you to listen until the end. I have something to say to the next leader of what's still the most important of the 3 families of Onigafuchi Village, Mion Sonozaki. At first, Mion looked like she had no idea what I was saying, but at hearing the whole sentence and putting it together, she reacted. Where did you hear that? It doesn't really matter. I definitely couldn't tell her who told me. Takano-san, you told me not to, but please forgive me. This was why I asked you about it after all. I was surprised just that you heard of Onigafuchi Village, Kei-chan. But you seem to know a lot of things, both true and false about me, too. Yeah, true and false. I really might have the wrong impression here, but I'm okay with that, so listen. And if it really is true... I don't know what you're getting at, Kei-chan, but let me say this beforehand. You've got a big misunderstanding. So if it were possible, I wouldn't want to hear what you're about to say. Because even if you said it, I can't do anything to help you. Still, if talking about it will lighten your burden even a little, I'll listen. I'm only just going to listen. Nothing more will happen. Are you okay with that? Yeah. Mion seemed to know what kind of thing I'd be talking about. She warned me that doing so would be fruitless. That much was obvious. If what I was going to say was true, then the Sonozaki family would be the masterminds behind the string of freak deaths that had been occurring every year in Hamanazawa. You know that stuff about Oshiro-sama's curse, right? Mion nodded a little. No one knows what it is or why it happens. Even if each incident is solved, the string of deaths and accidents as the whole is still a mystery. But there's one thing still connecting them all. And that's how the targets are always the enemies of the village. Seems like it. Mion spoke as if it didn't relate to her. That was fine. She didn't have to admit it. For now, I just wanted her to stay quiet and listen to me. The day after tomorrow, it's Watanagashi, isn't it? Has the sacrifice for this year's curse been decided already? Mion didn't answer. Her expression remained the same, too. Like she said, she was just quietly listening. Sorry. The promise was that you just listen, so it's weird for me to ask a question, huh? Mion gave me a look she'd never given me before, a faraway look, a sympathetic one. She didn't nod, she just smiled faintly and listened to me. If this year's curse isn't gonna be on Sadako's uncle, then please change it to him? I mean, last year it was her aunt, right? It's not in the right order, so it wouldn't be weird. You're right, it seems like there is an order. I mean, after her aunt died to the curse last year, he abandoned Sadako and fled the town for a whole year. Why wouldn't a guy like that definitely be on Oshiro-sama's list? There shouldn't be any issue with choosing him for this year. I see. If he were to die from the curse this year, no one would see anything unusual about it. I heard that Oshiro-sama's curse is, well, no matter how I looked at it, I wasn't sure whether I should continue. No matter how I tried, the words wouldn't come out. The string of freak deaths in Haminazawa, also called Oshiro-sama's curse, you're saying they're incidents perpetuated by the village, carried out by the three families at the Sonozaki instructions. Is that it? I don't care one bit whether you have anything to do with it. I'm just saying, if you have any way of communicating with whoever decides the targets of the curse, then I just want you to tell them to choose Sadako's uncle. Please. Everything you have been saying has been terrible. If the freak death incidents in Haminazawa were carried out by the will of the Sonozaki family, that would mean that the main culprit would be me, wouldn't it? I would have chosen the target of the curse, given the instructions, killed many people, and gotten rid of others. You're calling me a murderer, Kei-chan. I didn't say that! Didn't you listen to me? I don't care whether you're the one behind the murders or not, I just don't. Even if you were the culprit, it doesn't change the fact that you're my friend. It doesn't matter at all. If the police were chasing you, I'd come help. I'd make sure you had an alibi and even help you escape, because we're friends and comrades, aren't we? Mion looked surprised for a little while. She was dumbfounded. Now you're declaring yourself a complicit? Complicit, yeah. Kei-chan, that's pretty bold of you. Come on, don't interrupt. Sadako's uncle, choose him for... Stop right there, Kei-chan. I want to start on dinner soon, so I'd like to leave things at this. Mion! I then realized that my cheeks were wet with tears. They slid down my chin and fell, drip, drop, to the tatami mat. It's like I said at the start. You've got a big misunderstanding. Oshiro-sama's curse is just that. Even if there were people behind those incidents, they don't have anything to do with the Sonozaki family or me either. Right. I understand that. It's just... It was touching to hear such a desperate plea, Kei-chan, but that's all it was. Even if I wanted to help, I can't. You understand that too, right? Yeah. But now, I know how you feel, so, well, it hurts. If I really were, like you said, the one controlling the three families and choosing the sacrifices every year, I'd probably grant your wish. Mion! But the reality is different. I'm just Mion Sonozaki. My family may be the subject of all sorts of bad rumors about controlling Haminazawa from the shadows, but we have nothing to do with the freak death incidents. We may have been a little extreme during the Dam War, but that's all.
We would never do something so insane as to kill people. That's... Don't say such sad things. Right now, at least. I don't care. Why can't you just be nice and lie to me? Kei-chan, you're free to believe what you like. If I lied to you now, you'd be convinced Satoko would be freed the night after tomorrow and you'd be able to shed much of your burden. However, reality is harsh. Satoko's uncle will survive beyond that day. He'd still be alive next week and the week after that. You need to prepare yourself for that. I don't want you coming to me the day after Watanagashi and demanding to know why he wasn't killed. Mion stood up slowly and closed the sliding door to keep the wind out that had grown chilly. Was it Mio-san? Did she give you all those ideas? She really likes to misunderstand things about Hamanazawa. Well, we can't let her have her fun. We can let her have her fun, but I don't really want her influencing you, Kei-chan. Jeez. This is why outsiders are no good. Takano-san had nothing to do with this. Right. Don't worry. Even though I know she told you about it, Kei-chan, nothing's gonna happen. It's not like Mio-san will be chosen for this year's curse. Besides, we don't even know for sure if the curse will happen this year. Maybe it was all just a pile of unfortunate coincidences. Thanks for listening. If you aren't connected to the serial deaths at all, then that must have been an uncomfortable conversation. I'll apologize for it. I see. You'll apologize for it. Mion said she didn't have much time, but she still brought me to the gate. She said she had a meeting or something today about Sunday's Watanagashi festival, so there would be a lot of people from town council and the festival committee coming. Despite her day being so busy, she still listened to what I had to say. If there is a God in heaven, then he'll probably understands how strongly you feel. Yeah. I'm really sorry for being so weird today. You can pretend like this discussion never happened if you want. Okay. I'll forget about it. Okay. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. I had really only spent a short time with Mion. Talking to her made me think. It was clear that what Takano-san had told me, at least, wasn't a complete fabrication. If Mion was really unconnected to the incidents, then she probably wouldn't have listened to me so quietly. She heard me out until I was done without making any quips, and I wanted to think that was proof. I did kind of feel like I was grasping at straws. Of course, thinking back on it, it was a terrible thing to discuss. I mean, I went to my friend's house, called her a serial murderer, and then told her to kill Satoko's uncle. I was the only one talking that whole time. Mion quietly listened to everything I had to say like a pastor listening to a confession. She could have gotten angry partway through, told me off, and to go wash my face in miso soup and come back later. But she didn't. Was that proof that Mion's family, the Sonozakis, were the masterminds? Or was she just listening because she felt sorry for me kind of going crazy? I didn't know which it was. But it was one effort I could make at the moment. It was another form of insurance should the worst come to worst and the public agency decided to wait and see. It was a completely useless resistance, literally grasping at straws. Sensei said that if she reported it to the Child Consultation Center, they would have to respond on the same day. Could they already be in the middle of responding to it right now? If Satoko came to school tomorrow morning all energetic, then everything would just be a needless fear. Why couldn't tomorrow come faster? That night was unusually hot and humid, and I couldn't get to sleep. I said all that to Sensei. They couldn't possibly decide to wait and see again this year. Satoko, what was it like for her tonight? Had she tasted the end of her nightmare, enjoying a night of liberation? I actually put my hands together and prayed into my futon. Good morning, Keiichi-kun. Morning. Thank goodness. I thought you overslept today, too. Your mom said you'd gone on ahead yesterday and then you weren't at school. I was worried that you'd gotten heat stroke halfway there. Yeah, I'm very sorry for all the worry I caused you yesterday. Hey, good morning. Mi-chan, good morning. Wow, you really stink of liquor. You'll get found out for sure. Oh, right. Wasn't there a big business meeting with all the people in town council yesterday? They only called it that. It was more like a party. We have a festival every year, right? We wouldn't have any annoying meetings at this point. Are you going to help out with the festival this afternoon, then? Yep. I gotta do a meet and greet with all sorts of people in Grandma's place. Besides, they already started setting up for the festival. Our morning conversation was lighthearted as usual. It looked like Mion had thankfully forgotten about what I had barged into her house yesterday with that crazy talk. The more I think back on it, I felt like I'd really said something terrible to her. I was really thoughtless, and it wouldn't have been weird if she'd yelled at me. It was highly possible Takano-san had exaggerated her story. To think that our comrade and friend, Mion, the young leader of the Sonozakis, one of the three families effectively controlling Hamanazawa, was pulling the strings behind the serial death incidents was a little unbelievable. But if there was even a 1% chance that that was true, then what I said yesterday to Mion might have been a success. Yes, it was no more than 1 in 100, but that little bit of effort might have brought the chances of saving Satoko up by even a tiny bit. At least I'd made that effort. After yesterday ended, I was sure I'd done everything I possibly could. If there was something else I could do, it was probably just to clap my hands and pray that Satoko's uncle would be killed by the curse. I hope Satoko makes it today. Me too. Sensei is doing things for her, right? I'm sure it'll be fine. My aunt is a welfare agent in Hamanazawa district. I gave her a call last night. Huh? I didn't know your aunt was a welfare officer. What happened? Did you tell her about Satoko-chan? Yep. Chie-sensei called the Child Consultation Center right after we talked to her. A child welfare officer apparently visited before the night was over. My aunt said that they were going to pay visits at regular intervals from now on. Enough with the dumb little stuff. I want to know what happened to Satoko. Did they get her to safe? My aunt wasn't that informed about it. I was supposed to keep this a secret anyway. Her telling me was a big breach of ethics in the first place. Damn, that makes me feel even worse. Let's go get to school. Right. Discussing this more would just make us feel worse. It was far quicker to go to school and see if Satoko was safe or not. The three of us nodded and ran off. Was Satoko safe? What measures had the Child Consultation Center taken? I didn't care what, as long as we could go back to our peaceful life with Satoko today. It didn't matter to me. At the shoe racks at the entrance, Reno took a peek in Satoko's shoe cubby. Ah! Satoko's shoes are here! They're here! Kei-chan, Satoko's came. Thank goodness. We don't know if anything happened just because she came to school. We can't know anything until we see her face. We trotted towards the classroom. The classroom was lively as it usually was in the morning. Satoko, where are you? Me. She's right here.
It's too early in the morning to be so loud. Would you please keep it down a bit?
Satoko-chan! Are you okay? All of us friends crowded around Satoko excitedly. A probation officer came, right? How'd it go?
Who was it that called them? I swear it was quite a mess, you know.
It was the teacher. You were absent for so long, of course, she was worried. Satoko said I'm fine under her breath. She was still trying to overcome all that suffering on her own.
It was a big bother to both me and my uncle. That person just barged in on us suddenly, jeez.
Everyone was worried about you, Satoko. Don't say it was a bother.
Ah, jeez.
Anyway. Oh, wait. Ah, jeez. Anyway, what happened?
Nothing happened. My cold got better, so I came back to school, that's all. I can't take too much time off from now, because you'll all worry about me.
What was Satoko saying? What happened to, well, your uncle?
Oh, he admitted there were some misunderstandings, and we both apologized.
Tug. Rika-chan grabbed the back of my collar and pulled me away. What is it, Rika-chan? Rika-chan silently dragged me all the way to the end of the hallway. Rika-chan, what did that mean? Satoko said nothing was happening and chased them away. That idiot! But why? No, somewhere in my mind I thought it might turn out like this. Satoko didn't ask for anyone's help. She didn't hide behind anyone. She was trying to ride out this pain. She wanted to show Satoshi proof that if he came back to them, she wouldn't need to hide behind him anymore. But Coach said the probation officers can bring her to safety in an emergency if it's against her wishes. However much Satoko denies the abuse, it's a fact. Chie-sensei finally came. Her expression was far from cheerful. Yes, you're right, Mahabara-kun. If the child welfare officer determines that it's an emergency, they have the right to immediately take them to safety, regardless of the affected party's intent. Then why? Why is Satoko intent on being respected so much? It's weird! Why don't they put her into safety? Well, after the person in charge at the Child Consultation Center looked into it from many angles, they determined. What the hell is that? Sensei, don't say it was going to be alright since you definitely save her. What is the meaning of this? This doesn't make any sense. Answer me, damn it! Keiichi, this is actually the third time someone has reported Satoko's child abuse. It happened twice in the past, too. Furude-san. Sensei tried to stop her, but Rika-chan went on speaking anyway. Twice before? I heard they decided to wait and see after reporting it the winter before last, but it happened before then, too? Satoko's father, who died, wasn't her real father. What? Rika-chan, that's... what? I'm stunned at the sudden revelation. I had no idea that Rika-chan wanted to tell me, but it seems really important. I had no idea what Rika-chan wanted to tell me, but it seemed really important, so I couldn't get a word in either. Satoko's mother remarried. She brought Satoko and Satoshi with her, so they weren't related by blood to their father. Satoshi was a good kid, one who listened politely to what adults told him. He immediately welcomed by their new father and was loved. But Satoko was different. She was rebellious, she told lies, she played pranks. Her stepfather didn't like her at all. What? So, what do you mean? Even before she was given to her uncle and his wife, Satoko didn't have a very good relationship with her family. Of course, her stepfather didn't have any malicious intent at the start. At first, he must have worked hard to get his new daughter to accept him. But the young Satoko didn't make any effort at all towards that end. She was distant towards her stepfather, and never opened her heart to him even a little. She just got in on his nerves all the time with seemingly forced lies and pranks. Her father's discipline and punishment must have been loving at first, but of course, that too faded quickly. I don't know because I wasn't in Hamazawa at the time. But I learned this on the phone yesterday. Oh. I don't know, because I wasn't in Hamazawa at the time. But I learned this on the phone yesterday. What story did you hear, Sensei? That Satoko-chan wanted to trick her parents. Especially her stepfather. So she inflicted wounds on herself so she could make up a false story about abuse, and that she sent out an SOS herself. She made up a story about hurting herself? Satoko made a fake phone call to try and get rid of the stepfather she hated. Child welfare officers rushed there and heard the story. Her father genuinely apologized for a few times when he had gone too far, and agreed to let the Child Welfare Center give him coaching. Related agencies looked into it quite a bit. They determined that Satoko-chan and her stepfather's hearts not being quite matched up was the cause of the incident. But they found another problem above that with Satoko-chan. A problem with Satoko? What was it? Satoko's mother, there were a few times where she had lived with a de facto husbands, though those relationships didn't result in remarriage. From a young age, Satoko had been forced to call at least 2 or 3 people her father. At some point, Satoko's pranks escalated. She would spill food on purpose, turn over her plate, and even throw it. She would break the windows in the neighborhood and shoplift candy. She would put thumbtacks everywhere and set other traps to seriously hurt people. Not in the way she did now, just to get laughs. She was also fond of telling lies that would be found out right away, and people got mad at her every time. But she never, ever changed her behavior. Please don't think Satoko-chan was the problem child. Satoko-chan was young. It was an act of self-defense that she had to take against the unknown men her mother had chosen. In regards to Satoko's problematic behavior, child psychology experts from public institutions indicated her actions were to draw her mother's attention to herself. They acknowledged that she had a form of harmful emotional trauma, and declared that she needed counseling and therapy from professionals. They didn't know whether that therapy had healed the wounds in her heart. Satoko-chan purposefully hurt herself and told them that she was being abused by her stepfather in an attempt to chase them out. Man, I can't tell who's talking. I assume that was the teacher and this is Keiichi. But in the end, her stepfather did abuse her, right? No. All of the abuse had been made up by Satoko-chan. Her stepfather, of course, may have scolded her in a somewhat emotional way, but it was nothing out of the ordinary. Satoko had lied to chase away her stepfather. And they saw through her right away and found out that Satoko had issues? Oh, could it be that's why the winter before last they decided to wait and see? Yes, the Child Consultation Center had all their past records, so they needed to act carefully in case Satoko was lying. What in the hell? So what? Satoko might be telling a lie, so they needed to be careful? So, how does that mean they just end up waiting and seeing? It was the girl who cried wolf. That fable about telling a lie once, making others unwilling to believe you later. That's bullshit! The past has nothing to do with this, does it? Only what's really happening right now is important. Satoko is being abused by her uncle. Why is something like that happened in the past in the way of helping her now? Neither Sensei nor Rika-chan had anything to say to that. Anyway, yesterday a probation officer visited to carefully determine what was going on. And Satoko dealt with them, put on the best, strongest smile she could manage, and denied the abuse. Of course, she was probably being threatened into being kept quiet by her uncle. Satoko was trying to outlast everything without asking for help. Satoko wanted to wait for Satoshi to come back home, and she outright denied the truth of the abuse. What an idiot. What? You're not really enduring it. Do you really think that pretending like this will actually bring Satoshi back? Just stop it already. Satoshi, he abandoned you. And the fact that he hasn't shown up to save you now is proof, isn't it? So just stop it. Please stop being weird and pretending to endure it. Forget everything we just said, understand? If you tell anyone else, your teacher will be very mad with you. Chie-sensei gave me a warning, then left to go back to the teacher's lounge. Keiichi, please don't think Satoko is a pathetic, pitiful girl. She's living life. I know that. She's our irreplaceable friend. Satoko is still trying her best. Let's watch over her a little longer. The person from the consultation center said that they'd visit periodically from now on. If something terrible happens, they'll help her right away. Yeah, but only after it happens. Any more than that would have sounded like I was picking a fight, so I firmly swallowed my next words and went back into the classroom. Mion and Rena were talking to Satoko like they always did. It was a silly conversation, a humorous, even fun one, like it was any old day. If Satoko really said she could still endure it, then maybe I should do as Rika-chan said and watch over her. Maybe whatever help I offer will just go unwanted.
Okay, why don't we all have lunch?
Meep. Ah! It's been a while since it's been all 5 of us. This is really how it has to be. Here, here. Come on, you too, Kei-chan. Bring your desk over. Satoko brought her own desk over as well, grinning broadly. Even knowing nothing has been resolved, this exchange was pleasant and made me remember how fun it used to be.
I can't have Rika making bento for me forever.
I don't mind. I have fun making your bento. Rika-chan's such a good girl. Wait. Rika-chan's such a good girl. Having such a good friend must be so reassuring. I put in the big steak, and Satoko puts in the burnt stuff. So if it was just Satoko, it would be so sad. So very sad. Nippa. I take it back. Well, she's Rika-chan after all. Hey, come on, look! I've got an omelet rice today. Mushrooms and stuff are delicious, so...
I say it every time, but your craftsmanship is splendid. You could become a wife whenever and not have a problem.
A wife? A wife? Eating a wife? Eating a wife? Rena, what? Ow! Using the word wife is totally forbidden around Rena. Please don't say it again.
I'll think about it. About what I've done. A little.
By the way, what's in your lunch, Mion? It looks different again today. We're all waiting in anticipation. It's a rich assortment of side dishes left over from what my uncle brought last night. The stew looks really great, huh? The color of the radishes, too, really good, right? Wow, it looks delicious. Stew tastes best when it's left overnight. This looks like it will be really good, and so there'll be none left for Satoko. I'll eat it all and tell you what I think. Just be quiet and watch.
What is that? Hand over my portion too.
Elbow, punch, headbutt. I'll use my knees too.
Ugh. Oh, at close range like this, my advantage is unwavering. Keiichi-san, the daikon in your portion tastes really good.
Damn it, coming right after me from the start and using a combo attack? How humiliating. This little exchange, how long had it been? It looked like they ended up going with the wait-and-see approach, but maybe her uncle had realized he'd gone a bit too far and would dial it back now. If her treatment improved a little, it would be a good thing. Satoko was grinning wider than I'd ever seen as she chomped down on her mouthful of daikon she plundered from me. Did it really taste that good? Satoko was somewhat cute like that. And just as I had done many times, I grabbed her head and started petting it. Catch. Smack, flip-flop, clatter-clatter. Huh? Satoko-chan! It was so sudden that for a moment I didn't know what had happened. The back of my hand was stinging. I went to pet Satoko's head, and then she hit my hand? What's wrong, Satoko? Satoko was scratching at her head, as though a pimple or something had appeared on it and became itchy. It was so sudden and so unprovoked that I didn't understand what had happened. What's wrong, Satoko? At some point, her body had been covered in a thin layer of sweat, and her breathing had turned ragged. When I pet her head, did she not like it? Was that what that meant? Hey, did you dislike being petted? Once again, slowly, I held out the palm of my hand and brought it close to Satoko's head. The instant the palm of my hand touched her head, there was a shock like static electricity, and Satoko began to howl.
Ah!
Thud, slam. She grabbed my arm in both hands, and, as if flinging off a snake trying to cling to her, as if trying to throw away something dirty, she threw it violently. It happened so suddenly for me to react. I hit the desk behind me, and both it and I fell to the floor. The classroom fell deathly silent. As Satoko bellowed, it sounded like she was in the throes of death, and she unsteadily backed away. Then she threw up the food she had just eaten. She vomited it all back up. Splish splat. The sound of Satoko's vomit hitting the floor rang through the classroom. Are you okay, Satoko? You seem sick.
Yeah. Ah!
I reached out a hand and she swatted it away with all her might, with such extreme strength that I fell to the floor again. Satoko put both hands on her head as though protecting it, groaned some more, and took a few steps back. And then she began swinging both hands around. Students in nearby seats were forced to evacuate. She grabbed anything within reach, bento boxes, chairs, threw them, tossed them, and flung them about. Wait! Stop it, Satoko! What's wrong with you?
Yeah!
She screamed out as if Mion's word had caused her physical pain. No one spoke a word to her. All the students were withdrawing behind us, leaving Satoko alone in the corner of the classroom. Around her, their desks and chairs all over the floor, bento lay scattered. It was terrible. All I could hear was Satoko's ragged breaths and the voices of the cicadas.
I'm sorry.
The strings of tension loosened around Satoko, and maybe she suddenly grew scared of her own actions because she started trembling and gave a word of apology. But nobody knew just who that apology was directed towards. So, for now, I decided to answer as everyone's representative. No, it's fine. Are you alright?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Our words didn't match each other at all. Satoko hugged her shoulders and back she went. Back she went. Bang! She ran into the locker with the cleaning supplies in it. Even that made her give a little yelp. The impact caused the bucket atop the locker to fall, making a loud sound that scared Satoko most of all. She almost jumped out of her skin, grabbing a bunch of the curtains in her hands. Nobody spoke to her. They could only look, not even remembering to blink.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Satoko, what on earth? I stood up, took a step away from everyone, and approached Satoko. What happened?
I said, I don't know. I don't know. You're wrong. You're wrong. Please stop. Please forgive me.
Just calm down. Satoko, do you know who I am?
No more. No more. I hate this. Ugh.
Every time I took a step forward, she grasped the curtains more tightly and cried out. Satoko, it's me. It's Keiichi. Don't you recognize me? I would never, ever hurt you.
No!
Come on, calm down. It's all right. I'm your friend.
Help me. I don't want to be scared. It feels bad. No, I don't.
Suddenly, my shoulders were grabbed and I was dragged backwards. It was Rena. Sorry, Keiichi-kun. You get a little further back. After pulling me back, she ran towards Satoko in my place. It's okay. Satoko-chan, there's nothing to be scared of. Please, don't worry.
No more. No more of that. Knee. Help me! Help me! Nini, help me! Ah!
As she gripped the curtains and kept calling for Nini, she continued to wail about being forgiven for something and to be saved from something. What is this?
Uh,
Mio gnashed her teeth and groaned. There were tears falling from her firmly closed eyes. What the hell? What is this? Didn't this all come to an end yesterday? Weren't we supposed to go back to our old lives? Mion! Mion! Crash. There was a crazy sound. Rena had taken the cleaning supply locker and kicked it down to the ground. Everyone stood surprised at Rena's unexpected act of brutality. After that, Rena embraced the bawling Satoko from behind and started crying with her stifled. Rena, what's wrong? Sorry. Keiichi couldn't be quiet for a minute. What is it now? What happened? What did Satoko tell you? What did you hear? Shut the hell up! I told you to shut your mouth, asshole! Rena's raw, hostile emotion hit me like a brick. It was no more than a momentary howl of emotion for Rena, but it was more than that for me. She had shown me what was behind all that emotion, what was in her heart. Satoko-chan.
No more, no more! Ah! Ah!
Forgive us. We couldn't do anything for you. Forgive us.
Ah! Ah! Nini! Nini! Nini!
I'm sorry. Oh. Forgive us for being unable to do anything. Rena's words made me feel as though the blood vessels in the back of my head were suddenly all turning to ash. My vision grew distant, blurred with gray, and the world lost its color. I thought we could save Satoko. But, though I knew it'd be the sooner the better, I thought there was no time limit for doing that. I never even dreamed that we could be too late. I'd been making a huge mistake. I thought Satoko could be hurt, but never that she'd break. It was such a huge mistake. People, they break. Thinking that they don't is absolutely absurd. We needed to save Satoko. We needed to save her before she broke. That fatal lapse in awareness had brought this on. Whose fault was it? That went without saying. Mine? No, ours. We all took on the duty of saving Satoko, but we were negligent to the point of laziness. In that sense, this was the inevitable result. Even if this didn't happen today, it happened tomorrow, or the day after, or the next week, we would have all just sat around doing nothing until that day. So this was the obvious result. I slumped down to my knees, just as Mion and Rika-chan had done. And I, too, closed my eyes tight, and I couldn't stop myself from sobbing. What is all the noise about? Wait, what has happened? The teacher came, and her face screwed up at the terrible spectacle before her. The instant she realized the teacher was here, Satoko went through another complete change. She wiped her face with the curtains and, like nothing had happened, smiled. Hujo-san, what on earth is going on here?
I just got a little squabble with Renaissance is all. We went a little crazy over our lunches, right?
Rena didn't nod in reply, but then, since Satoko wished it, she nodded without strength. The rest of the class couldn't keep up with her extreme changes. We all just stared in a daze.
It was just a little horseplay. I scared everyone out of their wits.
Satoko would probably sweep the whole thing under the rug. For what? Her heart is torn into pieces, so what else? You wanted your Nini to help, didn't you? But unfortunately for you, Satoshi doesn't ever intend on coming back. It's never that easy. He won't just conveniently show up to save you. So, you don't have to wait for him anymore. You can cry, beg for help, you can run away. What? We can't do anything, Mion suddenly said. She spoke then those few words that had tormented me countless times. Those words were a spell, and when I heard them, my whole body suddenly regained its calm. My emotions all slipped away like that they'd never been there, like a wave departing. And then the world's color flipped inside out. My field of view expanded. My head grew remarkably cold, and I felt like my mind's volume had grown even wider than the classroom we were in. At the time, my soul was doubtlessly no longer in the small, petty vessel of my head, but floating in the air a little above it. It was a mysterious feeling of release. I broke free of the cramped confines of my skull and stretched out my roots in all directions as far as I wanted to. It was a strange feeling, and one I'd never felt ever before. An odd sense of exhilaration. My sharpened senses caused me to transcend. My mind was sharper than a knife's edge, and I immediately decided that spending the time to let myself be crushed with grief would be an absolute waste. I erased all the garbage information from my brain. I expelled the pointless emotions presenting obstacles to action. Mion, you curse it all you want. Curse our powerlessness as much as all you want. Huh? If anything could have taken back what had happened by crying about it, I would have cried all day. But the fact was, this was how things had turned out. I couldn't take back what had happened. The top priority then would be to prevent the situation from worsening further, and to sever the chains of misfortune. Until today, I'd been looking at things so narrow-mindedly, I could scarce believe it. To save Satoko, the only thing to do was to save Satoko. The only thing to do was to save Satoko. But that's the only thing I thought about it. I didn't allow myself to realize the most basic, direct, and certain way of removing the source of Satoko's unhappiness. No, actually, I realized it yesterday. But as for the means, I relied on some stupid curse from some dumb deity. I never considered carrying out the task myself. I would. Obliterate Satoko's uncle. There were plenty of ways to do it. This was a task that had infinite methods. Ironically, the method of saving Satoko required mostly money, but the method of killing that man pretty much took no money at all. I could kill him with the least amount of investment. The least amount of money suited him. It was only the weight of his life. I kept eliminating needless, worthless information from my head, replenishing it with only the knowledge I'd need to achieve my goal. I used every cell in my brain to think about how I would kill him. The way I'd kill him didn't matter. I would allow any method from whatever time and whatever country, as long as it ended in a quick and certain death. If I were to have an additional condition, it would be to not get caught. Removing him was an act destined to return the peaceful times we had with Satoko. If I was arrested in exchange for the removal, then we might as well have killed each other. With only him gone, we'd go back to our normal lives. That was my supreme objective. My ultimate goal. Kill him. Definitely. But definitely don't leave evidence either. Two alternatives at odds with one another. The condition of not leaving a trace back to me automatically narrowed the number of murder methods. No witnesses was an absolute must. Fortunately, given the right time in Hamanazawa, there would be nobody around. I mentally reconstructed the land around Satoko's house, the number of pedestrians different at different times, the movement algorithm of the neighbors. I would lure him out or charge at him. What would my weapon be? When and where would I carry this out? Where, it needed to be somewhere I wouldn't leave a trace. When, it needed to be as soon as possible for Satoko's safety, without wasting even a millisecond. This is absurd, completely absurd! When I thought about it this way, it struck me how easy the act of killing was. If I could leave evidence, if I was just going to kill him, and anyone could easily turn into a murderer. But our reason prevented that. It told us doing so would get us arrested for sure. In the end, being arrested by the police was the final thing preventing people from committing homicide. Absurd. If you went all the way out into the very middle of the ocean, you wouldn't leave any trace at all. No one would drop those they hate. Anyone would drop those they hated into the depths if they knew that. It was all too easy to simply remove him. I could leave the class right now, grab a metal baseball bat or something from the schoolyard, and go to his house and attack him. Estimated time would be 25 minutes. If I wanted us to kill each other, it wouldn't even be minutes. I could do it in 1,500 seconds. I knew just how much his continued existence depended on me. He was nothing. I could expel him from this world within just 1,500 seconds after making up my mind. From when I decided what to do, he only had 1,500 seconds. Actually, if I ran full speed to his house, that number would go down even further. But he was alive. He was still part of this world, and at this very moment, having torn Satoko's body and mind to shreds. Why? Because I was letting him live. I was permitting him to live, so he was alive. If I rescinded that permission, he would be evacuating this mortal coil within 1,500 seconds. You'd think I'd let you live to breathe even 1,500 seconds more air. I'm taking that permission back, right here, right now. You better thank me for letting you live until today. However, I actually needed more than 1,500 seconds. I am not just gonna end you. Getting back our old lives is far more important. The only thing it's only you I'll be cleanly cutting out of this world. They won't find a culprit. I'll forget that I dirtied my hands on the likes of you as naturally as I brush my teeth before bed. So to do that, I'll make a special exception for you and give you more than 1,500 seconds. I'll give you special permission to keep living as you have until I can construct the perfect plan for your murder. Wait, Keiichi. You can't let that time go to waste. Yeah, I know. I'll kill him quickly. I'll remove him with certainty. I won't misuse any time to think of a plan. Think back. Tomorrow is Watanagashi, isn't it? Last year on the night of Watanagashi, her aunt died. Her head was busted open by some deviant. Her brains splattered everywhere. That's it. He's someone who deserves to be given the death on the night of Watanagashi. Hey, Oshiro-sama! You call yourself a guardian, but you didn't protect Satoko. Cursing Satoko's family for the damn stuff is your own business, but now you've made Satoko unhappy when she didn't have anything to do with it. I, Keiichi Mahabara, hereby denounce you, the guardian deity of Hamanazawa, a failure. We don't need you. Go back to the deepest, darkest pit of your shrine this year. Besides, if you had just cursed and killed both her aunt and her uncle last year, none of this would have ever happened. The curse this year is not on you. I'll be the one deciding. It won't be the three families controlling serial deaths behind the scenes, no. Not some vague people who I can't tell if they're buffoons or not. This time, I'll be the one to deliver divine judgment. So, Don't get in my way. Just watch. Stay quiet and watch. I'll obliterate him. I'll wipe him off the face of the earth. I will stomp out his very existence. Go away, disappear and die. I'll tear your heart apart just like you did to Satoko. I'll have your blood as payment. Keiichi-kun, are you alright? Rena, Mion, and Rika-chan were looking after me. Had I fallen to the floor? You surprised us. You suddenly fell down. Were you having a nightmare? You were moaning. Shut it. Quit speaking to me like that. What? Huh? My friends gave a start and backed away. What? Rena and the others, they exchanged glances, unsure of what to say, and stood confused for a few moments. Was that your voice, Keiichi-kun? Of course it was. Rena gulped firmly in and opened her mouth. For a second, Keiichi-kun, your eyes were really scary. My eyes? Probably just a trick of the light. Don't waste my time. I'm not mistaken. I've never seen those kind of eyes before. What were these guys talking about? They've all been too scared of me lately. You are Keiichi Mahabara, right? What? What was Rena saying? Who else do I look like except Keiichi Mahabara? The look I gave her seemed to speak quite eloquently to those irritated thoughts. She understood and quickly apologized. I'm sorry. Don't worry about it. June 18th, 1983. Abuse issues regarding Satoko Hujo. Urgent. We have proposed that Satoko Hujo must be taken into immediate custody based on the items below. Family situation. Life with adoptive father who recently returned to Hamanazawa has already turned disastrous, and she is currently subject to unendurable physical and mental abuse from the father. Child Consultation Center's response. A child probation officer was dispatched yesterday on the 17th from the Prefecture Welfare Office, but because of the 77 case, changed to continue coaching and conditionary action. Unfortunately, the consultation office head does not properly understand the situation. Status of the concerned child. Child already appears to be suffering from an outbreak of something close to neurosis or manic depression. If her unstable pubescent mind is negatively stimulated by stress, it will put her development of a healthy body and mind at risk. This cannot allow to be continued from a humane standpoint. Allegations made to the family court. We propose, based on the above items, that Satoko Hujo should immediately be taken into protective custody. She should be secured temporarily under emergency allegations to the family court under Article 28. We request emergency coordination between all related agencies. 1983. I don't remember if this story started with a specific date, but is that like the most recent one? Because it was talking about the 77 case, which would be the older one. Interesting. That one might be about now. Fukishuo D2 3-3, number 44, 1977. Child name, Satoko Hujo. Oh, this is the first one. Residence, Hamanazawa Village, Sishibone. Consultation circumstances. Telephone SOS from child of child abuse. Abuse situation. Child claims she is being physically abused by her adoptive father. Family structure. Marks abusers. Adoptive father, real mother, older brother in question. Note, adoptive father and real mother entered family registry in 19 blank. The child is the daughter of the mother's previous husband. Interesting note about this is that in the abusers, it also indicates older brother, but also child in question. So everyone, interesting. Child Consultation Center's response. On the day of child's telephone consultation, the center called the child's school and asked of her situation. On that day, the child welfare officer on duty visited the child's house and conducted an interview. The adoptive father sincerely listened to instruction and agreed to take child-raising workshops in the city from now on. As part of suggested coaching, the center will continue to observe the situation. Other notes. As a result of numerous counseling sessions at the city's education consultation office regarding the child, we learned that there was a high possibility the cause of the child's excessive distrust towards her adoptive father was the result of lack of communication. The abuse she claimed hadn't actually taken place. She had made a false report to distance herself from her adoptive father. Below was a note written in pencil by the person on the duty at time. The problem appeared to be more with the daughter. Chief Investigator F of the city's education consultation office said that most of her stories of abuse were likely fabrications. They decided to shift the focus of their coaching to the child. Be cautious not to take everything the child says as truth. All right. A lot of interesting things and theories spring to mind at the end of this one, especially at the end, during that scene. Kind of both parts of it too, like Satoko. I think that Satoko breaking down bit is like legitimate. Her breaking down, like she's under something. Something is definitely happening in that house that is screwing with her. And it's most likely the abuse, and that she's being abused to be kept docile, and then the simple act of just like being touched or whatever that like sparks the kind of reflexive action of getting hit or something. I feel that's real. I don't believe she's making it up there, though it's kind of odd how quickly she seems to be able to bounce back out of that state. Like, when the teachers showed up, she kind of immediately flipped it off, but that could also be a part of her, like, pain coverage of whenever anybody else is around to just kind of, like, flip on this mask, this persona to cover her real pain underneath. It's very interesting, and, very sad. Like, I get Keiichi's point, and before I get into that, let's dial it back to the bit of the beginning with the Mion stuff, of Mion being like, a lot of that stuff's just rumors, man. It's not true. And I'm inclined to believe her in this particular instance. I think a lot of that is rumors, just because they are the biggest one. They seem like they've got the most control, so it kind of would make logical sense. Like, if anybody in the town was going to get away with serial murders, it would be like the big giant family that could just do it every year, and it's like super easy for them. Like, it seems like I kind of believe Mion when she says, like, we have nothing to do with that. We happen to be a really big family, man. It's just kind of how it works out. Like, don't believe everything you hear in the tabloids or whatever. Kind of deal with that particular situation. But yeah, Keiichi is very bloodthirsty. So let's get into this. And what theories that I get from it, which, like, Up until now, I just spilled all of my water. Awesome. 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 This is gonna stay in. The fact that I just spilled all of my water. Because... fuck. I probably cut out most of this, but, like, the water during this entire episode that I was drinking, massive coughing fits. Like, massive coughing fits. And I wasn't even facing the mic when I explained that little story. Massive coughing fits, which probably got mostly edited out. You don't want to hear me coughing. Anyway, Keiichi. Back on there. So, up until now, my theory, like whenever I theorize, I kind of always theorize around the fact that I don't believe there actually is a curse. And I kind of think that there is... It's definitely people, to some extent, doing it. But, with Keiichi kind of breaking down, inverting, clearing his mind, murdery, whatever, the real key point of that last... Like, it kind of... It's like, maybe it's a curse, sort of deal. Like, maybe that was the point of him being possessed or focused into doing the job of killing someone, because the real point that stuck it was when Rena and Mion were like, your eyes, man, we've never seen that, your eyes like that before, are you the same person? And that is directly related to the past ones, where whenever Rena or Mion was doing the psycho killing thing, they always had the eyes. And even when Rena has yelled the couple times in this one, she hasn't had the crazy eyes. She's had angry eyes, but they aren't the crazy ones. The crazy ones are different from the angry ones. And I think that's kind of a sign of, like, they are either being controlled or being pushed to do it. Like, it kind of lends credence to, like, some kind of possession. Or, on the flip side, some kind of mental snap. Keiichi, especially since we were there through his entire thought process, kind of seems like he just has a mental had a mental snap and is just saying, fuck it, I'm going to deal with this the easy way. Kill him. Because he was basically trying to kill him when he was fine before by trying to get Mion to do it. Or get Mion to get someone to do it. Sort of deal. Like, he was trying to kill him. But now he's just said, fuck it, I'll do it myself. And he said, fuck it, I'll do it myself, and kind of done this crazy mental break. I'll be interested to see how long this goes on. Like, this is chapter 8, I believe, and usually these stories end, like, the last couple games ended at, like, 10 and 11, chapter 10 and 11. I'll be interested to see if this doesn't end in, like, chapter 9. I wouldn't be surprised if the next episode is the last one. I don't think it is, but I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, I'm not saying I'm completely convinced it's like, yeah, it's a supernatural curse, shit's being possessed. Because, honestly, it could be. There's credence to that. There's a little bit of nuggets here and there, maybe. But if I want to keep going on my one path, he's suffered a severe mental break at seeing Satoko. This person, he is obsessed with Satoko. He is, like, the crazy, obsessed big brother. He constantly is thinking about her. All he wants to do is protect her. And then he sees Satoko break down this hard, this badly. Like, that's the thing he needed to see to pretty much push him over the edge and be like, nope, I'm going to murder the fool. I'm going to kill him. 1,500 seconds and he's fucking dead. So, yeah, I like it. I like playing Crazy Keiichi. I only really got to do that at the end of the first game. Oni. Damn it. Oni. I can't remember right now. I'm a little tired. My voice is all fucked up because of coughing fits throughout this entire thing. But yeah, very interesting. Oh my god. I hope the next episode starts and Keiichi's just making a beeline to the guy's house to kill him. That would be interesting. On the flip side of that, like, what if, like, Rena and Mion try to stop him? That could be unfortunate. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Anyway, until next time.